So now let's see how we can work around with the advanced color correction option inside of Filmora. So for that, you can see that I already have a video footage on my timeline. And if I want to access the advanced color correction option, I need to double click this. And then what I need to do is I need to click on the advanced button right here. And once I do that, you can see that if I were to click on edges, then what happens is that we get all the controls right here. So here what you see are histograms for each of the color, as you can see. So over here you can see that there's blue, that denotes the bright area of the image. So, and that is because you can see that the sky and the ocean is blue in the footage. Green is in the medium amount, while red is on the darker side, as you can see right here. So this represents the darker side, while this represents the brighter side of the footage right here. If I were to play this around right here, you can see that the histogram changes out whenever I pause it out. You can see that that is how it looks. So now let's go around with color enhancement. So if I were to click on auto, you can see that the histogram changes and it tries to adjust this out. It is simply changing out the threshold right here. So you can increase this out, as you can see, to increase the difference between black and white. And you can increase and decrease the value right there to change out the contrast right here. So you can decrease this, you can decrease this as well. You can increase the threshold and work around with this. So decrease the threshold right here and increase it and so forth. So that is how you can work around with it. And then I can enable and disable this effect as well. And you can see that it changes the histogram accordingly. Then over here you have the white balance right here. So you can increase and decrease the temperature right here to make it more warmer or cooler, or you can change the tint to make it more of a magenta color or a green color right here, just like this. So depending on what you need, you can change this around as well. So I'm just going to change it around more onto the cool side and more onto the magenta side right here. So now let's go to the other option, that's 3D loop. So I can go ahead and apply different looks to it as I want as well. But I'm not going to apply any effect to this. I'm just going to set this to none, and I can simply disable this out. Then we have color over here. So in color, I can work around with the brightness by the exposure. You can see that it's really affecting the bright areas, but not too much of the dark areas. But if I were to go to brightness, it affects the dark areas as well. So there's a bit of a difference right there. Contrast is the difference between black and white right here. So you can see that as I increase the contrast, the dark becomes darker and the bright areas become brighter. Then we have vibrance. So if I were to increase it, you can see that the color actually increases, but vibrance is a bit different than saturation. You can see that while I increase the saturation, you can see that the colorful areas and the non-colorful areas, both of the colors pop out at the same time in evenly. But with vibrance, what happens is that the weak colors get focused upon, and that is what gets enhanced. The bright colors don't get affected much. So over here, there's the oceans. It does not get affected much right here, as much as the mountains, as you can see right here. But with the saturation, everything is getting affected at the same time, as you can see. So usually what I like to do is increase the vibrance a bit and decrease the saturation a bit to make it more balanced. You can see that this is how it actually looks like. You can go around onto the other part, that is light right here. So now in the light, you can control the highlights. That means the brighter areas of the footage. So if I were to decrease this out, it affects out the brighter area and the shadow area remains untouched right here. So highlights refer to the bright areas of the video. So if I were to increase this and decrease this, you can see that it increases the brightness. So if I were to do this, you can see that the bright area has been reduced out with the brightness level, so you can see the clouds more clearly. If you were to work with the shadows, you can see that whenever I move the shadows, you can see that only the shadow area gets affected. So I can push up the shadow a bit to get the details around the shadow as well. So you can see that as I do this, as I decrease the highlight and increase the shadows, now the footage becomes a bit more balanced. Then we have whites. Whites are just like highlights, but is more intense right here. And blacks are like shadows and more intense. So let's say you really increase out the shadows right here. You want to increase it further. You use the blacks to push it up way further as well. So you can really bring down the whites right here and really bring up the blacks as well, and you can see that this is how it looks. But I do not want to work around with whites or blacks right there. I'm just going to decrease out the shadow, and this is what I want. So now I'm just going to minimize this, and we're going to go to hue, saturation, and luminance. So now here what we can do is we can control out individual color of the footage over here. So you can see that if I were to change this, you can see that I have selected red. The red color shifts on to other areas. So you can see that I can make it green, or I can even make it purple right here. So I want to change the look a bit. I can use this. Let's say I want to change the color of the ocean. I can simply select this, change the hue, and you can see that the color of the ocean changes. I can make it more of a different color, as you can see. So I can make it a bit more blue or a bit more green as per what I want. I can work around with the saturation. So I can take away the saturation of certain color as well. You can see that this is how it affects the entire ocean right there. Or I can really make it black and white by using saturation as well. So I can go over here. Let's see the intense effect. You can see that there's no saturation right here. I can also work around with luminance. So now what happens is that for individual colors, I can work around with the brightness details of that as well. So we don't make like heavy change usually in footages, but we just select out, and then we make subtle changes to get the look we want. So it does not affect out too much. I can increase out the luminance right here. I can work around, increase this out, decrease this out right here, and then work around with it. So if I were to go down right here, the other option that we have is vignetting. So I can increase the amount of vignette right here, which brings these white borders right here, or I can decrease this out right here. I can work around with the size. I can really decrease this out, increase and decrease the amount right here, and that is how it looks. I can increase and decrease the roundness of the vignette over here, or I can use the feather to make it more softer or make it more sharp right here. I can work around the exposure of the center area as well, and I can work around with the highlights of the end as well. And these are the advanced color correction options inside of Filmora that you can work with. So hope you guys learned something as always. And as always, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.